There we go.
Lost weight, gained weight. I just couldn't wait to get the weight off of my shoulders. The fear and the pain, the guilt and the shame, making me feel nothing but older. I've been through a long dark tunnel. I know I lost my way, but I'm on the other side and I'm doing alright. I'm a little bit lighter these days. Lighter, like a feather in the wind. Lighter, feeling like a kid again. Always been a fighter, yeah, I'm a survivor. I'm a little bit lighter these days. Lighter, like a feather in the wind. Lighter, feeling like a kid again. Always been a fighter, yeah, I'm a survivor. I'm a little bit lighter these days. Always been a fighter, yeah, I'm a survivor. I'm a little bit lighter these days.
Wow. I know, what's interesting is that I've seen this online, and now I get to listen to it with everybody else and have this singer-songwriter, the performer of that song, Gwen Levey and the breakdown.com. Gwen, congratulations. What a beautiful song. You're on with me and Dan Schaefer, my guest co-host today.
Hello. Hi, Patty. It's so good to be reconnected. And hello, Dan. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Gwen.
I am so thrilled. It's hard for me to ask people how they're doing. So are you staying hydrated? How's that? Are you taking care?
I feel like I am staying hydrated. I have one of those really huge gallon water bottles. So even if I don't get through the whole thing, I'm like, well, I did most of what I'm supposed to do. So that's one thing I feel like somehow I have a hold on, a grasp on that, right?
It's like an aspirational bottle. I saw somebody, one of our guests, Peter Sorellis from Source Solar, had this big, huge, it looks like a mini water bottle like you have for The Office. Like the
like the Hinkley Springs one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is that? It's just a neoprene sleeve. You may as well. That's what people. I guess people have made that joke about the big Hinkley Schmidt. So how do you feel about the work that you're doing? I know that this organization has been such an important element of your life with the Rise Above Justice movement. Tell folks a little bit about the organization.
Yeah, so I co-founded an organization that is a national coalition of survivors against violence called Rise Above Justice Movement. And it was founded by Zachary Mallory, and I'm a co-founder, and we have a couple other co-founders. And we started as Survivors for Harris, and I remember Patti gave us the wonderful opportunity to talk about that. We had a huge nationwide historic Zoom call with many different survivors. There was, survivor Clarence Thomas. Her name was Anita Hill. We had Hadley Duvall, who spoke at the DNC. And we just had, and a lot of the Trump survivors also spoke. And currently we just started a podcast called the Rise Above Justice Movement podcast. And I was honored to be the first guest and tell my survivor story for the first time. I'm a survivor of both childhood and adult sexual assault. So it's something that unfortunately is a lot more common than we may think, as we're seeing. And we've also, one of the biggest honors, and also have learned so much from other survivors, and especially some of the Epstein survivors that we've been able to talk to on our podcast. So it's a heavy subject, and it can be hard day to day, just kind of getting through hearing people's stories and knowing how common these things are. But I'm very proud of the work we're doing with Rise Above Justice Movement. It's grown so quickly. We have very close, we'll be at 300,000 followers very soon. And it's only been a little over a year since we started. So, and actually one of one of the people who was on part of our Zoom was the founder of the Me Too movement, Tarana Burke, who was one of Time's People of the Year a few years ago. And, it's kind of like Rise Above Justice movement kind of feels like it's building off of the Me Too movement in a way, like kind of where the Me Too movement left off. And as we're seeing, survivor voices are not going away.
No.
Thankfully, they've been silenced so often, and my own, voice was silenced, and, my abuser wasn't in the public eye. But I can only imagine what it's like for these incredible survivors who are coming forward and sharing their stories. So I'm inspired by it, even though, of course, like I said, it's very heavy. So, the song you just played, Lighter, is about that. It's about being a survivor and reclaiming your voice and reclaiming your power. And, the first line, lost weight, gained weight. I just couldn't wait to get the weight off of my shoulders. That could be physical weight. It could be emotional. It could be spiritual weight. It could be the weight of the world. And I just really hope that with the song and then also co-founding Rise Above Justice movement, these are things that'll help give the world some levity and help people feel lighter.
I love that. And I agree. It is, and it's hard to explain because I was talking to somebody who works with the Me Too movement and on the legal side, trying to fight for rights like, NDAs in workplaces, like when a woman is sexually, or when anyone is sexually assaulted or, has harassment in the workplace. I said that the Me Too movement felt like it skipped Chicago, and she's like, "Oh, no, wait a minute!" But I meant like there are so many powerful people in Chicago who have been silenced, and I was one of them. And at the same time, she's right. Like there has been progress. So I can't even imagine, as you mentioned, what it's like to be in a very public story, to be at the very heart of like this energy that was used to manipulate voters, was their trauma. And for people to constantly talk about protecting the children, and many of these women were children. They were girls. And that's something that is like the hypocrisy and also this idea that we should just go away. And that's what I love so much about your movement, about your song, is that we're not going anywhere. And I think that's what you really are communicating as well. I hope you feel that.
It can be hard for me just with getting Lighter out and releasing this new music. For those of you who don't know, I had a song go viral called Barefoot and Pregnant, which is how Patti, that's how Patti and I first got connected. It's a pro-choice country anthem. And that went viral, but because of, and I've talked about this on your show before, Patti, where, because that went viral and it started doing really well, and then it started getting suppressed by Meta and TikTok and all these algorithms, and now it's even worse. So for me, getting this new music out, I'm a completely independent artist. I don't have a record label, promoting me and funding me. So it's really hard to get music out, especially when you have been suppressed online. And with Lighter, I hope it keeps getting out there, because I feel like it's music the world could really use right now, but because of the algorithm and the way things are right now with all of the big social media companies. And as we know, the Trump administration just bought TikTok, basically. So the algorithm. So, just kind of like trying to navigate all of that, because it's really hard to be seen these days in the music industry, especially if you don't have anyone helping you behind the scenes in terms of like a big record label
or management. No, believe me, I get that, because and especially where you live in Tennessee, it's hard for folks to take a chance. What are some of the reactions you're getting from people that are finding your website, your organization, and your music?
So as I say that, Barefoot and Pregnant actually just went viral again. So So combined, it has over 22 million views. So despite all the suppression and censorship, it has been getting out there, but it's just slow. And the same thing with Rise Above Justice movement. Even though we've been growing really fast, we have content that gets suppressed all the time. And my gosh, we talk about all the things the mainstream media won't cover. So I think that, it's like almost like it's a blessing and a curse, where it's like it's such a gift to be able to speak out and give a voice to those who don't have one, and also encourage people to use their voices, but also at the same time, the reaction to Barefoot and Pregnant, as we've talked about, Patti, has been mixed in Nashville. I'd say I've definitely been blackballed and not allowed in certain places. I've been banned on certain radio stations. I've had people book me that don't book me anymore. I've had people who used to talk to me all the time that don't talk to me anymore, and that's just the way it is. But and I hate to say that's just the way it is, but that's kind of the risk you take when you speak out for something you believe in. That shouldn't be controversial, but it is. And with Lighter, I think there are a couple. I'm finding out there are a few networks that didn't want to take a chance on Barefoot and Pregnant that are like, okay, yeah, Lighter, like that seems cool, like that's less political, So
Right.
And they do appreciate the music. I think people appreciate my talent and my art, but it's a risk for them too, and it's unfortunate seeing even some of the more progressive leaning country networks, etc. in Nashville, kind of turn away from Barefoot and Pregnant. And
I wish you could come live with us in Chicago, but
welcome anytime.
but now's not a good time to be here. I don't know if you're watching. Sorry.
Oh my gosh! Well, and Tennessee too, obviously, is very rough here, and Memphis, and them sending troops there. And gosh, I'm so appalled. Like I haven't been able to sleep just like thinking about what's happening in Chicago and reading about the ICE raids on the innocent families that are just being subjected to this cruelty and violence. It's so devastating. It's really hard to be an American right now. Especially since, we love our country and we're patriots. So that's why we're speaking out, right, Patti? And,
Yep.
Putting our own reputations and lives on the line in a way because we're speaking out and we're public. But I just think about these innocent families that don't have a platform. And it's just, we're seeing that all over the world. And with a lot of things the U.S. is involved in and this administration is involved in, and it's just really, really devastating.
And then we do need to use our voices, and I love that you are. Can you come back on? And I know Jerry's listening. If we can get you back on in a couple weeks before the end of October to continue our conversation, and to talk about Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which is this month.
Yeah.
And folks,
Yes.
go to riseabovejusticemovement.com. Visit her website, Gwen Levey, and thebreakdown.com to learn more and support the work that she does. And I would love to have you back on. We're going to have an alderman on in a moment to talk about he's in studio in a few moments to talk about what's happening in Chicago too. So I have to run. I hate cutting this conversation short, my friend.
Oh, no worries. I'm so happy we got to speak, and you're always in my thoughts, and I'm thinking about you too, Patti. And
too.
Dan, it was nice to meet you.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Gwen. You have a good night and stay hydrated. Keep carrying that jug around with you.
I will. Right back at you. Bye, y'all.
I will. Thanks. Bye. Let's take a break here, and we'll welcome Alderman Gilbert Villegas in studio on WCPT 820 and KKNW 1150.
Listen up, fellow timeshare owners.